if the shooting schedule had been like a week longer, we probably would have turned into a cult. It was just the vibes were that good on that set.
Today's show is sponsored by Enigma Elements. As filmmakers, we're always looking for ways to level up production value of our projects and speed up our workflow. This is why I created Enigma Elements, your one-stop shop for film grains, color grading LUTs, vintage analog textures like VHS and CRT images, smoke, fog textures, DaVinci Resolve presets, and much more. After working as an editor, colorist, post, and VFX supervisor for almost 30 years, I know what film creatives need to level up their projects. Check out enigmaelements.com and use the coupon code IFH10 to get 10% off your order. I'll be adding new elements all the time. Again, that's Enigma, ENIGMA, elements.com. Now, guys, today on the show, we have returning champion, writer-director Alex Lehmann. Now, Alex has been on the show multiple times. His first time on the show, he was promoting his first film, Blue Jay, starring Mark Duplass. And I feel like we've kind of gone along the journey of his career because that was the very first major feature he'd ever put out. And now he's got his new feature, Acidman, starring Thomas Haden Church, and it's in the Tribeca Film Festival of 2022. So we get into how he was able to get this made, all the adventures he had while he was shooting it, COVID, almost getting shot at, and so much more. So let's dive in. I'd like to welcome back to the show returning champion, Alex Lehmann. How you doing, Alex?
Yay! Thanks for having me back.
Thanks for coming back, brother. I mean, you're one of the OGs here at Indie Film Hustle. You were, I think, the oldest episode. The first time you were on the show, you were promoting a film called Blue Jay. Forgive me, I don't remember the episode, but I think it was in the hundreds. We're now closing in on episode 600.
That's amazing. Congratulations to you. That is huge.
It's insane. I appreciate that. It's insane. It's definitely a hustle, as you can tell by the branding.
You have hats, you have shirts, you have wall light, whatever that is. It's everywhere.
It's part of my life, sir. I don't have a tattoo yet, but
that's next.
That's next.
Please.
But listen, man, I was telling you before we got on, man, I'm so happy for you, man. You've done so well. I've had so many. The thing is, I've had the pleasure of talking to a lot of filmmakers over the years, and you and I've met, and we've hung out a little bit, and it's just remarkable how your career has progressed. Because a lot of people who I've talked to, they don't progress that way. So you're a success story, and that's why I wanted to have you back on the show to like let everybody know, like, you know, he's done good. He's doing good. He's moving along. He's telling stories. He's building a career for himself. So it's a pleasure just to be able to witness it from that point, from when you like kind of were first beginning getting your feet off the ground with an amazing film, by the way, with Mark Duplass.
Thank you.
And Sarah Paulson.
But shouldn't we also talk about all the failures in between?
Well, no.
Come on. Yeah.
First, okay. After the first, look, listen. Let's keep it real, Alex. After the first movie, Hollywood just brought the dump truck full of cash, dumped it in front of you, and then anything you wanted to do, they just said, Alex, just name it, and how much. All you have is time and money, and any star you want. So that's how it has been. So I am. No, I understand. There's been, I'm sure, for every one movie that you get made, there's 30 that don't get made or really close to getting made, or the money drops out, or the actor drops out, or this doesn't happen, or that doesn't happen. So of course there's struggle.
Can I say it?
Go ahead.
It's a hustle.
You owe me 15 cents, sir.
Yeah.
So, so for people who didn't listen, I have the pleasure of listening to our other episodes. Can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you got started in the business?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I was a cameraman and a cinematographer for a solid 10 years, more than 10 years. And that was just my source of income, and my career path was being a DP. And even though I'd gone to film school thinking I was going to direct, I don't want to say got sidetracked, but I'd found this passion of cinematography, and it also paid the bills. And then I did get a little bit antsy at one point, felt like I needed to make my own stuff. So I was writing some pretty bad scripts, and then I made a documentary called Asperger's or Us, and I connected with Mark Duplass on that one, and he helped me get that one, into festivals and get it out in the world. And then he and I started, becoming collaborators on a couple things like Blue Jay and Paddleton. So that's kind of, in the chutes and ladders of it all, I feel like, being completely honest, I feel like I kind of hit that big ladder. Your audience knows what chutes and ladders is, right? That's not an obscure reference.
That's an obscure. Sir, you are old. Sir, you are old. If it's not an app, my audience doesn't know about it. No, I'm joking.
In the Mario Kart, I got the magic star. I don't know. Pick whatever.
You got the lottery. You won the lottery. You won a scratch off lottery ticket.
The opportunity that I got was really big. And, the lesson I share with anybody is like the opportunities will come and you don't know in what form. And sometimes it's a huge opportunity, sometimes it's a small opportunity. You can't really control them, but you have to be ready for them if they show up. And, I kind of feel like I lucked out as far as the timing of being ready and having the right stuff at the right time for when a guy like Mark Duplass said, I'm going to open the door for you. So that's how that worked out.
It's interesting for people that don't know the full story, because we're kind of glazing over how you work. You were a camera op on a show. I forgot the name of it. The League, exactly, The League, and Mark was on it.
Yeah.
And as every independent film, any movie about an independent film being made, there's generally the DP or the grip or someone with a script in the back of their pocket that hands it to the star, which you didn't do. But he heard that you had made this documentary.
Yeah.
And the timing of that, it's exactly what it is. It's luck, right place, right time, right product.
Yeah.
If you made that film 3 years later, it doesn't have that connection. So those stars aligned, and then Mark said, "Hey, let's take your movie out into the world. Oh, and by the way, I just like hanging out with you and working with you. Let's collaborate on another project." And then that kind of starts that off. But what is interesting about your story, Alex, and please forgive me for blowing a little bit of smoke up your butt, not too much. I'm going to try to keep it to a minimum. Don't worry. Well, I'll bring you back down. I'll crash you back down. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But the thing that's fascinating is that I know a lot of filmmakers who get those kind of lottery ticket moments with those opportunities, with those kind of either big stars or people who open the doors for them. But many of them don't stay in the door. Many of them don't have the chops to stay in the door. Many of them don't have the personalities to stay in the door, because you can get a shot. You know it. You've seen, I'm sure you have a lot of friends that they possibly out of a lottery ticket situation get a shot.
Sure.
But they either blow it, their egos get in the way, their personalities get in the way. Something happens that's the peak. Yeah. But you kept that thing going, and people are like, I want to keep working with Alex. I want to keep going this. So that's a lesson for everybody listening. Just because if someone opens the door, you're lucky enough for someone to open the door. That's when the work begins. That's not where the work ends. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I would say that for every success you have, there'll be some more opportunities that happen. And like, did you get let into the party? To a certain extent, yes, but I don't know, just to mix metaphors, like I think every party ends and then there's going to be a new party, and then you got to get into that one. And you do have to keep earning your way back. And it's at least I do, and most of my friends, like we find ourselves constantly having to re-earn our worth. So there isn't usually that one thing that changes everything.
As the incomparable Miss Janet Jackson says, "What have you done for me lately?" That's basically this. That's basically the town. Yeah. It's like, great, you won an Oscar, fantastic. Now what? And
it should be, though.
Right.
It sucks because I'll be honest. There have been times where I feel like why can't I just get the next thing made? I've just proven that I'm consistently making movies that are getting good reviews and that people love and blah, blah, blah. And yet, I'd say two things. First of all, the landscape's constantly changing, and I'm sure you've had a bazillion episodes that have talked about, the streaming and the whatever, everything, pandemic, everything has changed, and like what audiences want, that's constantly changing. So there's that. And so what you might be good at is in for a moment, and then it's not in, and like you have to reinvent yourself. That's cool. That's fine. And the other thing is, this town is full of such talented people. There's so many. There's not enough room for us all to constantly be making all the things. And so the way I look at it is like, I get something made and it's fantastic. It's fantastic for us. The project might not be fantastic, but maybe it is. Who knows? But we celebrate. We feel great, and people watch it, and then it's back to square one. You get thrown on this pile of billions of talented filmmakers. That's maybe not billions, maybe just millions, I don't know, but so many talented filmmakers, and it's back to square one where we're all trying to get something made again. And that's okay. The meritocracy does exist to a certain extent, and if we were benefiting from like our past successes too much, that would also be leaving the door closed completely for that filmmaker who's listening right now who hasn't made their first thing. So I like the fact that the door gets to stay open a little bit for them too.
Absolutely, because you need it. I mean, that's the business. The business needs to be refreshed with new blood and all of that kind of stuff. Now, I want to ask you. You've directed a handful of features. What, in your opinion, is the biggest challenge in directing an indie or non-studio or just like non-$100 billion franchise kind of film? What are these challenges? The biggest challenge you think?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is getting it made. I still think that's harder than making it. I don't know that that'll ever change.
You're right. To a certain extent. I mean, unless you're playing at a different league where the movie is going to get made regardless if you're on it or not. Yep. That's a different conversation. But for most filmmakers, that's not the conversation.
Well, because I mean, it's pretty messed up if you think about it. You're trying to convince somebody to make something that doesn't exist, that's never existed before exactly in that form. And they're asking you in that room or on the Zoom, so what is this like? And so you're trying to convince them to spend a lot of money to make something that's never existed before, but they don't have the imagination that you have because they're not you. And so they don't exactly understand what it is you're trying to make. And yet you have to promise them that, it will exist. You don't know exactly what it is, but it's going to be this thing that is just out in the ether right now. It's not like building. I can't show you the blueprints. I guess I can show you the blueprints, but everybody knows the difference between script to screen. That's why we have reviewers. That's why we don't, so we don't finish with reviewing scripts. Like that, the work is only getting started, and right. And so I think there's a lot of fear and uncertainty, and so trying to convince people that this is the right thing to be made, and it's going to be artistically valid, and probably financially has to be valid as well. Those are some pretty serious hurdles.
Now, since you've been around the block a little bit, you've got a little shrapnel in you from the business over the years. Yes. Is there something
walking with a limp?
You walk? Yeah, we all walk with a limp, sir. Some of us walk with more than just that. But is there anything you wish? Is that one thing that you wish that someone would have told you at the beginning of this conversation of you trying to be a filmmaker? To just go, hey man, keep an eye out for this thing.
I wish somebody had maybe told me that indie financing is fickle, and maybe most people that say they have money don't actually have money.
No, stop it. Stop it.
Well, I'm naive. I really am. I'm sorry. I've
when someone tells you I got $100,000 I can put into this, you believe them.
I mean, I'm not going to go through the details of my latest films because they got made, and at the end of the day, I feel very lucky that they did, and the rest is the rest. And the more I share the specifics with friends, the more they tell me their similar stories, and I feel like the whole world of indie financing is a very comical place. That's a euphemism, comical. But I got lucky because my first couple narrative features were with Duplass, right? Like Mark was instant. Like if we were making the movie together, he was starring in it. He was, able to pay for it. And he had a distribution deal with Netflix. It was so turnkey. And so it wasn't until Acidman, which I, specifically set out to make on my own. It was such a personal story. And I felt like I want to produce this myself and, just really just take the full ownership. So raising finances for that one, I'm glad I learned what I learned, but I wish somebody maybe had given me a crash course or two before I headed out into that world.
There's just two words I can tell you, sir. Verifiable funds. That's the two magic words in indie finance. Verifiable funds.
They wrote it down on a napkin with a crayon, and that was good enough for me. Yeah.
For everybody listening, there are multiple episodes about film financing on the show, on the podcast. You can go back into the archives of, but 2 words, verifiable funds.
But here's why maybe that doesn't matter that you have those episodes, and why maybe doesn't matter that like where somebody would have told me is we believe so badly.
Of course you do. Of course
you
you do.
want to believe. And I've got friends in situations where they've come across some shady financing, and then they try to tip off the next person who might get tied into that shady financing and say, like, don't work with this person, their money's not real. And the response 9 times out of 10 is, yeah, but he's our best shot, so we're going to go with him anyway. It's like don't get in the train, it's heading off a cliff, and somebody goes, I kind of want to go somewhere.
You know what? And this is a deeper conversation, because I was having a conversation with this film distributor the other day, and I was asking him straight up. I was like, why are filmmakers always getting taken advantage of in film distribution? And this goes for film financing as well. And he's like, because they want to believe.
Because we're not business majors, because we're film majors.
But not even that part. Even if you're smart enough, because there's a lot of smart people I know in the business who got taken because they want to believe, because either at the beginning of the situation or at the end. So film finance is at the beginning, film distribution is at the end. Both times there's a lot of pressure on you to make something happen. You want to get your movie made. And then in film distribution, you're so exhausted that you believe anything that anybody tells you, like, oh, someone loves me. Someone loves my work that I've been spending the last 2 years for. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's no MG. I don't need any money up front. 25 years. Sure. I'll sign that. Okay, great. And $5 million expense cap. Great. That's fantastic. But you want to believe. So that's something that it's hard. It's even if you know this information, when you're in, it's kind of like being in a bad relationship. You know, you're just like, I know she's not good for me. Yeah. But damn, I can't quit her.
Yeah. I can change her.
I can change her. I can make her better. I could change her.
Yeah.
That doesn't work out in film financing or in film distribution.
But don't you think that probably the shady people that are pretending to have money but are really out there to, like, you know, well, whatever, screw us over. Don't you think that they're also saying, like, I can change. I could be a better person.
I think
next time I'm really going to have that money that I promised the filmmaker.
Well, I think those people are. I think there are people who do go out there with malicious intent. I think other people truly believe that they want to play the role of the high roller, the I want to be in show business kind of vibe, and they might have the intention of getting you the money, but they just don't have the capability of doing so. Yeah. But they just kind of roll the dice. They're like, oh, I'm just going to say I have the money so I can go along this train and have these conversations and pretend that I'm a filmmaker, a producer, or finance, or so on.
To a certain point, we're all doing that, though, right? The very fabric of filmmaking is we're trying to get people to believe in something that's totally made up, and we're taking them on a journey, and we're saying this is a story worth it. Now, gather around, everybody. This is allow me to take 2 hours of your time, and it's going to be worth it. It's a story. There's something romantic in that, and I do think that. I mean, I don't know. I think that probably like the real scammers are probly in other businesses, because there's more money to be made scamming in
Medicare. Scamming Medicare is a lot better, more lucrative than scamming independent filmmakers.
Yeah, so I think my heart goes out even to like the indie film scammers, because like at the heart of it, and you touched on this, like they want to be part of making movies, and like it's like I was gonna have to scam somewhere. Might as well scam here and make movies, because as a kid I always wanted to scam and make movies.
So just a disclaimer, everybody. I do not suggest you scam Medicare or any independent filmmakers. That's not part of what we're saying here. We're just using it as an example. Now, I wanted to ask you something else, because you have been a cinematographer for most of your career, and most of the films you've worked on, you've been the DP.
Yeah.
But this one you didn't. So what was it like, Acidman? What was it like not having the controls of the lighting and the camera? And how did that work for you as someone who's done it? Because as for me, I've been editing all my life. Anytime I've ever worked with an editor, it's an adjustment. It takes a minute.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Paddleton, I also wasn't the cinematographer, so that was
Right.
the first one. But I'll be honest, I struggled on Paddleton to let go of those reins. And the DP I had, he had shot second unit for me on Blue Jay when I had DP'd that myself. So there was, a little bit of
Oh,
comfort there. And he also had, he was very patient in my inability to completely let go on Paddleton. I will say that the first day of Acidman was still tricky, and I was still like kind of gripping onto that hat a little bit. And my cinematographer, John Matishak, he really got me there. This was a cool experience for me because it was the first time that just, and it was very early on in the filming process, I just started seeing what he was doing, and I started trusting. And I think it became clear to me that we were going to approach things differently, but I loved the end results, and that I just needed to trust the process until I would get to see the end result. Because otherwise, like, instantly I just start looking at like where somebody puts a light. I'm like, well, that's not where I put the light. It's totally subjective, but to keep my mouth shut, as both I think a very good collaborator, but also a control freak, and that's I think you're supposed to have a little bit of both of those to direct. I was really excited to be able to let go. Funny story about John: he literally shot my first short film in college. That's how long I've known him.
Oh,
And
wow.
we didn't, he went out to Nashville for a while and was shooting commercials, and was raising a family out there. So he didn't come back to LA till just a couple of years ago, and we reconnected. And he was saying, like, I want to get back in the indie feature game, move in LA with my family. I really want to make movies again. And that's how I reached out to him for Acidman, and he was fantastic. And I've been using them since, and it's so freeing not to have to think like a DP much anymore. We can still have the conversations in the shorthand, but but yeah.
I felt the same way. That's like when you when I see an assemble cut of something I did, I was like, oh, I didn't have to spend 6 hours to get that assemble cut done. Oh, that kind of feels nice. I just could come in and tweak. Oh, that's feels a little bit better.
Well, and here's the good thing, whether it's editing or cinematography a little less because you only have a certain amount of time and resources.
Sure.
But to say, I've got something in mind, but before I take us down that path, what are you thinking? Let me see what you're thinking. It's like you only have one opportunity to really see how your collaborator artist sees things before you smother them with your vision and ask them to like try to understand what it is you want. And there's a curiosity I have when we have the time. It's like, what did you see when you read the script? Or, what are you feeling in this moment? Because I know what I'd like to do, but I might be able to learn something from you. And as much time as we have, and, as much exploring as we can do, I'd love to do a little discovery before we go down a path. And by the way, I might still say, like, that's really interesting and let's shoot that. But then the shot I really need that's been in my mind's eye since the first day I wrote this is this shot over here. And, we'll get both of them and figure it out later. But sometimes I abandon. Sometimes I say, that's cool. That's more interesting than what I was going to do. And thank you for challenging me.
And that takes time to allow yourself to be confident enough in your own skin, comfortable enough in your own skin to allow that. The ego starts to pull back a little bit, and you, as you get a little bit older, you've been around town a little bit longer and doing this, you realize you're like, best idea wins, man. Best idea wins.
Ego. You're right. It's all about ego, or hopefully lack of ego, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Now you've had the pleasure of working with some amazing actors, some legends. Ray Romano, Duplass. Now you worked with Thomas Haden Church in Acidman. How do you approach working with actors of that kind of caliber? Because I can imagine it might be intimidating working with someone you might have, like with Raymond, or having him working with him, Ray Romano, not Raymond. But Ray Romano, but like working with someone like that you might have been watching him as you grew up. Like, how do you approach the relationship of a director actor in that scenario?
Well, I like to start out, exchanging some really vulnerable information about each other so that we both feel, and then I blackmail them. For the rest
Great
of the
technique.
shoot.
Great technique, guys. Great picture.
Yeah.
Photos work. Photos work if you could get photo.
You were in their trust, and then you weaponize it against them. No, the first part's true. I would say even more importantly, I mean, when you ask yourself, especially if it's somebody who's a little more legendary, who's been doing so much, who is getting 10 offers a week, Sarah Paulson, Ray Romano, Thomas Haden Church, you have to ask yourself first, like, okay, why did they choose this project? And I think it's a really fair thing to both ask yourself, maybe their reps, and ask them, what is it that draws them to the project, and really make sure that you're honoring that. Like, if there's something that they came here specifically for, as long as it falls within the scope of what you're trying to make with the film, make sure there's room for that. If Ray's like, I always, comedic, and I want to make sure that like I have the opportunity to really, show the world my dramatic chops, don't make him say a bunch of dick and fart jokes. Like, let him, really build it around those moments that he wants, and in return he'll give you the goods. And as far as Thomas goes, I wanted to understand why he was drawn to this, and understand what excites him. Because obviously the paydays on these smaller films is not what makes these people leave their home when they made all that 90s TV money.
I mean, listen, Thomas just got off of Spider-Man, the latest Spider-Man. So I'm sure he's okay.
He's okay.
He's okay.
But the things he did for our film that he's willing to put up with, the lack of trailers, the limitations that we have, there's obviously something there. And for him, he was finding the character of Acidman really relatable. He was honestly, he was saying, like, I'm becoming more of an Acidman myself all the time. Which, for your listeners, I should say, this character is, he's a reclusive, very intelligent man, but a reclusive guy who lives in this small town, and he just kind of keeps to himself, and he tinkers. He's got some of his own hobbies and some of his own interests and beliefs, and he's definitely not understood by the town or really by anyone. He's just kind of minding his own business. And Thomas had been, the pandemic didn't hurt, but Thomas felt like he'd been living in his little ranch house a lot lately, just not feeling as motivated to connect with people, and started to like feel that distance grow. And he was saying, like, what's that about? Why am I comfortable with this? And like, is this going to continue? Like, is this pattern going to continue where like maybe I stop returning people's phone calls completely at some point? Let me explore these feelings with the character of Acidman. So, making the room for Thomas to explore those elements, that was really important. And then adapting to his process was really important. So he loves to find the character, everything that's beneath the page. And so we had so many long phone calls with himself and Dianna Agron, who plays his daughter. The three of us had on the weekly, just like maybe 2 or 3 phone calls that would last a couple hours each. And this went on for months. And we just really dug beneath what was, the script and found these characters. And that fits my improv process anyways. But it was really about like, this is what makes Thomas excited, is like building out a character and fleshing him out. I mean, it's easy for me to give that when that's something I want as well. But yeah, I would say, to answer your question in a roundabout way, you figure out what it is they want, and you make sure that they get to have it. That's why they showed up.
Now, can you tell me how Acidman, your new film Acidman, came to life?
Yeah, so that script I've had since we were taking Blue Jay on tour, promoting Blue Jay. It's a very personal story. It's something that I started writing, way before Paddleton, and I don't really think I was ever going to make it. Certainly not after Paddleton. It just kind of felt like maybe the opportunity had come and gone for this movie. And the character of Acid Man, the name Acid Man, there's actually this guy, in the small town where I grew up, he was probably schizophrenic, but like the kids had a nickname for this guy. He would walk around the town, and he lived with his parents. He was probably in his 30s, and they would like throw eggs at his house and spray paint stuff, and they'd harass him and call him Acid Man. The mythology was, he'd gone on a bad acid trip and never came back. And I think a lot of towns have their own Acid Man, right? Like I've usually, like everybody, people go like, oh yeah, we had Charlie on a lawnmower, or we had, our guy dressed up like Abraham Lincoln and would walk around town.
Sure.
And I was always really curious about that man when I was young, and about what his relationship was with our town. Like, it's just weird to me that like we could just write somebody off and kind of harass them. Even the adults called him the walking man. It just felt very, I think we fell short of really respecting that person. And I think probably loneliness and searching for connection are themes that have kind of been throughout all of my films. And so I was always kind of connected to that character. And then the ultimate question of like, what if, you're estranged from your parents or your father, and you reconnect with your father, who used to be this brilliant scientist, really intelligent man. This you knew him as one person, and then you reconnect with him, and he's become the Acid Man of his town, right? Like, and so I think some of that's obviously just exploring the aging, our parents and who they become and who will become one day.
Yeah, that's that I was telling you earlier. As I was watching it, it was connecting with me at a whole other level, because when you're 20 and you watch a film like this, you're like, that's kind of this or that. But when you're, I'm getting close to 50. I don't like to even say that word, but I'm a few years away still. But I'm getting to that age, and you just start thinking about things a lot differently. You start thinking about life differently. Where am I going to be in 20 or 30 years? You definitely have more behind you than you do ahead of you. Sure. And that's a very strange place to be as a person. And I think they do call it a midlife crisis, though I'm not getting a Corvette anytime soon. But and I love my wife. But it was really interesting the way I really attached myself to not only the Acid Man as a character, but the daughter, and seeing her father through his eyes. And I have my parents still. So you start looking at them and who they were when you were there, a young man or a young, a little boy, a little girl, and who you thought they were and who they become later in life. And it's fascinating. And then I start thinking about what my daughters are going to look at me in 20 or 30 years, like this crazy podcasting, filmmaking guy who made some movies and hung out with some stars or did some this or did that. And now look at him, just living off all that crazy podcast money. But but it was just very fascinating. It was really, again, it hit me at the right place. I'm your demographic, sir. So it was really touching.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I think it's interesting to explore those blurred lines, because there's no day that you just say like, all right, I was a child and you were an adult, to your parent. You don't say, there's no day where you say, okay, you're no longer the parent and I'm no longer the child, because I too am an adult, and we don't say that to our kids either. So it just kind of, so at some point you're a child and you're a parent. So that's weird, right? Like, how can you be both? But you are, look at you, like you are, you're a dad, but you're a son as well. And, and it's no secret that at some point we lose a little bit of either faculty or just like some strength in life, as we age, or at least we don't necessarily have the same qualities and strengths that our society maybe honor, right? So or respect as much, and so there's this kind of softening of where older people go into, and how do you say that? How do you say, like, at some point, like, well, because at one point, you say you're my parent. I look up to you. When you're really young, you say like, you're my parent. You're a god. Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with you. You could do no wrong. And then there's everything in between. And then we get to a certain age and we're like, oh my God, my parent can't is incapable of anything, and that's a horrible feeling, to try to somehow tie this same person who is a god to you as this person who now needs help with everything. And so I think Acidman to a certain extent is an exploration of that, and trying not to rush into pity or
right,
resentment for the things that we don't understand, and also just honoring the fact that those connections never go away. Like, to a certain extent, you'll be your parents' child, no matter how old you are.
Oh, my kids will always be my kids. I don't care how old they get. I don't care how successful they get. I don't care how big they get. It doesn't matter. I don't care if they have kids themselves. They will always be my little girls. It's just you can't look at it differently. Just the same way my parents say the same thing to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm a grown ass man. She's like, yeah, you're still that little kid I grew up, I raised. Yeah. And it's, you just, until you're a parent, you don't get it. You might intellectually, but when you actually see a child, or if you have, children in your life in some way, shape, or form, you start to understand that a little bit differently. It was a meditation in parenthood, to say the least, this project, man. It was really, really cool, brother. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I'd say if there's one other theme that I could share, and I don't think it's a spoiler really, because it happens early in the film, and we'll probably have to mention it anyways. But so this character, Acidman, who is really referred to just as Dad in the film because he's Dianna Agron's dad, estranged father. His name's Lloyd, and he has this obsession with UFOs. He sees these blinking lights out in the sky, and he just really feels connected to them, but he's a believer in this stuff. And, I just, the other thought really in writing this was like, what if you're trying to like reconnect or just connect with your parents, and like now they're into, QAnon or whatever it is that they're into. And you're like, how the hell do I reconcile the differences in beliefs and opinions that I have with this person that I love and I respect, but like, I don't know how to talk about that. I don't want to make a political film, and like, sure, I don't even want to like piss anybody off at QAnon, although it kind of feels like it's going away. It's fine. we can move on, sir. It's okay. Unless I should have checked with you first. Are we good? I believe in Q, and any day now. No, I'm joking. Whatever people believe Ferrari is Q. I heard it here first. Listen, whatever people want to believe, it's up to them. I could care less. Yeah, and that and that's I guess that's really what the film is about to a certain extent, is like, if whatever you want to believe that doesn't hurt anybody, and that and that doesn't cause harm, like those kinds of beliefs, like, I could just ridicule you. I mean, we have opinions of everything, and like, extreme opinions of everything. It's all we do, and so for me, it's an exercise to show patience with someone who believes in something supernatural that doesn't have any evidence. Exactly. Well, obviously, but we did see the congressional hearings. So UFOs obviously are real. They're there. We've seen videos now. I want them to be real. I hope we all do. We all seen movies. Yeah. Come on, the filmmaker in you wants that. You want that situation to be real. Listen, regardless of if UFOs are real, I do believe that this is just my personal belief that in this giant universe there has to be some life somewhere. Mm-hmm. Have they visited? I don't know. I just don't know. But logic dictates that there's billions and billions and billions of planets out there. Probably something happens. Something's got to be there. Something's some sort of organism somewhere. Even if it's something has to be living somewhere else in this universe. But dude, I hope ET is roasting marshmallows in my backyard tonight. Like, really, I do. Thank you, Steven Spielberg. But it's so very true. But it's really fascinating too, because that concept of not being able to connect, and you did it very eloquently too, because UFOs is just one of those things you're just like, fine. So it's not a political statement, but being able to connect with someone you love, whose blood, who has wildly different views on certain things. And it could be something as Madonna, I can't say the word, as Madonna. Yeah. Madonna. She's very polarizing these days. No. Benign, like believing in UFOs or not, because that hurts really nobody, generally speaking. Mm-hmm. But when it's something very deep, either in the religious world or in the political world or whatever it is, it's so difficult to connect with someone you love, because you still love them regardless. of their beliefs and where they were, because they weren't there maybe 30 years ago. So I think you danced that line so eloquently and beautifully in the film that you said what you needed to say about that idea without really stepping on anyone's toes, unless UFO lovers.
I appreciate it. I mean, even I think at the end of the film, we don't know if that was a UFO or not. Or maybe we do. I'm not going to tell you.
Exactly.
Sorry, the movie's about more than that. I didn't give anything away. But I would say that I think maybe the reason it works in the film is because I wasn't putting it on anybody else. I was really putting it on myself to find more empathy and compassion and curiosity for the people who have different beliefs than I do. And instead of even just saying like, well, I don't believe that, but good for you, to say like, well, I mean, what do I know? I'm just another person, and we're all wrong about plenty of things. So let me be a little more curious, and let me respect this, and let me figure out why this is, relevant to you. And when you hear someone talk about whether it's their religion or a spiritual belief they have, or ghosts or aliens or anything, you listen to them enough, and they do start talking about something that is like a little bit more grounded and more personal anyways. Like we got this great story when we were scouting for Acidman. We were on this mountaintop overlooking the Oregon Rogue Valley, and this is like random guy just like walks up on us, and he's like, "Oh, you guys you're the ones making the movie here. It's about UFOs or something." We're like, "Oh, we didn't want to tell him too much," but he's like, "Yeah." And he starts telling us about the UFO sightings that he's had, and you could at that point validly say like, here we go, like this guy's gonna be, but we just kept listening, and first of all, the stories were really entertaining and made me want to see what he had seen, and the second thing is, out of nowhere he starts talking about the passing of his father, his father had died just a few years ago, and was telling us about how he still talks to his dad every single day, and that he's never really brought that up to anybody. And I'm thinking like, holy shit, he just used UFOs as a conduit to talk about his feelings about his deceased father. And he's a guy who's maybe, I don't know him, but he's maybe not as emotionally vulnerable and capable of talking about that stuff all the time. And I don't think UFOs were created in his mind or a substitution for those feelings, but they certainly made it easier to talk about certain things. And so all of a sudden it was this really generous connection that we had.
It's interesting that a lot of people get so caught up with everything that's going on right now or in our lives right now. In 100 years, what does it matter? Just be kind to people. Mm-hmm. Be kind, try to help people as best you can, man. Yeah. That's the way I look at things. Like at every moment in time, humanity thought they had everything figured out.
Yeah, it's not till next week.
At every moment, there was a moment where the Earth was the center of the universe. When it was flat. Sorry, flat earthers. There's always, everyone's got it figured out. So when you understand that, like, maybe we've got a couple things figured out. Maybe we don't. Maybe in 100 years or in 500 years, they're going to be looking back at us and like, can you believe the barbaric 2020s? Oh my God, it's crazy.
Well, I do think let me get back. I'll just get on the soapbox for 1 second. I do think that probably in 100 years, people are going to say the shit that they allowed with homelessness was insane. Like, it's going to be, it's going to, the way we look at certain things that happened a couple hundred years ago today, I think people are going to look back and say like, wow, they just didn't give a shit about those people. That's weird. But hey, it was the dark ages. It was the early internet ages. Like, they didn't know how to be people. They weren't humans. They were getting all this information, but it was all bad information, and anyone could write any information they wanted to on the internet. Basically cavemen. They were still with
podcasts. They were cavemen with podcasts, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. But I think to the point of what does it all matter in 100 years? There's obviously a lot of fighting going on now, and I mean it's been going on for a while, but
sure.
Man, I don't know. It just feels like a lot of people are wanting to feel heard right now, and there's so much noise, and I guess we're contributing to it with making a movie. Now I'm doing interviews so I'm making more noise, but but I don't know. I just think the practice of listening to people and making them feel heard, we could probably all heal each other a little more just by replacing some of the shouting over with listening.
I'd agree with you 100%. Now, to get back to the filmmaking side of this movie, what there, and I don't know if I've asked you this on any of the other shows, but it's a question I've been asking lately.
Okay.
We all go through every day. There's always when we're shooting a movie, we're on set. There's always that day that everything goes to hell. Lost the sun, the camera breaks, the actor can't make it. Something happens where you have to completely compromise. What was the worst day of this? Besides every single day, what was the worst of every single day of that situation? And then how did you overcome it?
Okay. Of course there are a couple moments, and I just got to think about which one I can share the story without
publicly.
Well, yeah, publicly. Yeah. I will say that the filmmaking experience, and this is either going to piss people off or they're just not going to believe me, but it was such a positive experience, and it was just, it was like May of 21, so people were just starting to get their vaccines and just kind of coming out a little bit. There was everybody was so excited just to be on a set together, and I don't know, just the nature of what we were doing, it enabled everybody to just be vulnerable and really lean in. That like I like to joke that if the shooting schedule had been like a week longer, we probably would have turned into a cult. It was just, the vibes were that good on that set, and that's
happens all the time.
I've been on some really positive sets though, but this one, this one was special. But sure, there were there was an angry neighbor at one point because we had to drive through a private road, and those Oregon private roads are people move to Oregon to be left alone, usually. I'm not talking about Portland. I'm talking about like country.
Outskirts.
That's where we were shooting. It was very apropos for Acidman, and the neighbor was well known. He was infamous for shooting at cars that drove too fast on their private roads. I don't think that anybody got shot at, but we definitely were confronted on a certain day where we were shooting a really emotional scene, and he just came in screaming at some of us, and you just don't know. I mean, and this is scarier than anything else, because you just don't know, like, does this guy have a gun? Like, is
he mentally stable? Sure.
Yeah. And so, like, diffusing that situation, and then also recognizing the fact that it's gonna emotionally shake everybody when you're asking not just the actors, but especially the actors to be vulnerable, because that's what we're doing. We're making a film. I mean, if we'd been making an action film, maybe it would have like pumped everybody up, but we weren't. We were making a film where people were trying to shed these layers and not take each other down, but like connect and bring each other. And to do that, you have to put the armor down. And so when a guy comes onto your property and screams and you think he's got a gun, like, everybody wants to put that emotional armor up. Like, I wish we'd had real body armor, to be honest. I was a little nervous, but yeah, so I think really just recognizing everybody's feelings and just kind of like emotionally making the transition from stuff like that, which we lost a half hour, and like for a second there's some logistical stuff, and you got to keep the day going for sure, but I think crew morale and just really making everybody feel safe is so important.
I agree with you 100%. It's a good answer, sir. There's always that day. There's always that thing.
There's always that day.
There's always that day. There's always that thing. Yeah. Now, what? And you got into Tribeca, obviously, because this is our Tribeca coverage. So, yes, of course, I always like to ask, what was that phone call like? Because you haven't been in Tribeca before, or have you?
I had a doc series here a couple of years ago. The Asperger's, we made a doc series with the Asperger's troupe, and that's on HBO, and we premiered it at Tribeca. But that was before the pandemic. It was right before the pandemic. It's like, what, 12 years ago now?
15 years ago. Yeah, 15 years ago.
Yeah. So it doesn't really count. But this is the first narrative film that I've had at Tribeca, and I'm super excited. It's, I was talking to my DP about this the other day. He said, "Isn't it cool? Like there was like we were essentially like a crew of 15 people like living out like in
In
these
the
like
woods.
in these cabins in these woods making this film." He's like, "Isn't it cool that we're out in the middle of nowhere, Oregon, like just 15 of us like doing this thing, and now we're premiering it in like the one of the biggest cities in the world, at, like this huge festival."
Now, a little birdie told me that you have something else coming up at the end of the year. You shot not just one film, but two back to back. Can you tell me about your next project coming out, man?
Yeah, so Acidman, I thought was going to be my movie last year. This is my coming out of the pandemic movie, and this other film that I'd been attached to for a little while, all of a sudden, kind of pulled all the actors and all the money together, and so I basically shot these back to back, which was crazy. But there's this film. It's called Meet Cute, and it's starring Pete Davidson and Kaley Cuoco, and I'm super proud of it. And we'll have more details soon, but I think everybody should be looking forward to seeing it at the end of the year. And it's kind of it presents as a rom-com, but it's a really great script by Noga Noeli. It was on the Blacklist years ago, and it devolves, it twists into some other stuff.
There's UFOs involved, obviously.
There's close. It gets weird, man, but it's funny.
Is it like Michel Gondry weird? Is it like Michel Gondry weird, or are we?
Yeah, it's like Michel Gondry weird. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. So that one of his films, his most famous film, is definitely one that we used as a comp, and I don't know. I'm really excited about what that is, and I think Kaley does an amazing job in it, and Pete does an amazing job in it. But I feel like I'm lucking out because with Acidman, I think Tom Hayden Church is an amazing actor. He crushed it. The Acidman, that his acting in this film. Everybody keeps telling me they love this side of Thomas that they haven't really gotten to see. And then I think Dianna Agron was fantastic in it. She was a creative collaborator, on it from the very beginning. I mean, I should say that, like, she really helped me put this all together when, I'd been used to, just going to Mark Duplass and saying, lucky me, I could just call Mark up and say, like,
hey, Mark,
I got an idea.
Let's go make this.
Yeah. And so, basically calling Dianna up and saying, like, I've got this movie and you're perfect for it, and could you help me, if you sign on, I think we can get a really great actor and some money, and I just really need you to be behind this. And she's been behind it from day one, creatively and logistically, and someone like that, when they give you that confidence and when they stand behind you, they give their stamp of approval. That's a great way to get something made.
That's awesome.
She delivered in every way. Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing your new movie at the end of the year, and I tell everybody to go see Acidman. It's really just really interesting meditation. I look at this very much as a meditation. You sit there and just absorb it. The cinematography is gorgeous. The performances, they just kind of wash over you. It's beautiful, man. Now I'm going to ask you a couple questions that I ask all my guests.
Yeah.
What advice would you give a filmmaker trying to break into the business today?
Yeah, I would say keep being yourself, keep doing you. I see a lot of filmmakers trying to be another filmmaker, right? Or trying to make their version of, make your version of something, but make it your version of something. Don't try to make the carbon copy of whatever movie it is you love. And
Right.
I think that the sooner they discover themselves and don't try to be anybody else, the more quickly audiences will be able to see their authentic filmmaker self.
Now, what is the lesson that took you the longest to learn, whether in the film industry or in life?
That I don't know, because I think I'm still learning that.
Mm-hmm.
Every time, it's kind of a cop-out answer, but it's kind of not. Like because you have to know certain things, and then every time certainty creeps in, at least for myself, I have to take a step back and say, like, all right, dial it back. It can't be too certain of anything because there's a lot of learning left to do. Yeah.
And 3 of your favorite films of all time.
3 of my favorite films of all time. Okay, I'm going to start with what is, I think, a cousin to our film, is Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I think we share a lot of the same emotional and thematic DNA. Slightly different budget.
Even the 70s budget is still slightly different than today's
Slightly
budget for
different
this.
budget, yeah. But there's a real connection there, and I would say 400 Blows is a big one for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, I could try to like dig deep and be cool, but Jaws, I'll just go to Jaws because I've never seen anything more than Jaws. Like I don't need to impress anybody. Jaws, done.
Jaws, it's a masterpiece, and it still holds. It still scares the living hell out of you even now. Like it doesn't. I mean, the shark might look a little janky, but even then, it doesn't look that janky. I mean, Jaws 3D looked much worse than Jaws 1.
Yeah.
The shark, at least.
All right, I'm gonna be. You know what? I'll be Stan. Is this? I don't know. Stan, I think is the. I'm gonna be a Stan and Spielberg Stan and say E.T. as well. Like it's too many Spielberg movies for a list, but like I don't care. E.T. because you say it still holds. Like that movie still. Like I cry. If I need to cry, I'll watch E.T.
My daughters were traumatized when E.T. was found down at the river. Traumatized.
Wait,
like
what?
they watched. They couldn't.
Yeah.
When he was down at the river and he's like dying. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen E.T. If you're listening to this, you haven't seen E.T., I'm sorry. But when he's down there and they were like 5 or something, we showed it to them at 5 or 6, traumatized. They still talk about that. They love the movie, but they just remember the image of E.T. because they loved them so much. And like, it was an emotional roller coaster to say the least.
I don't know how to explain this because it's going to sound like I'm pretty dumb. That's okay. Maybe it's right. But when you said that they found E.T. by the river, my mind immediately went to like E.T. lives like in a van down by the river now. Like that's where his career is ended up. I was like, what? Like we got to start a GoFundMe for E.T. Like I literally went there first, and I'm not stupid. I know he's fake. Yeah, I know he's dumb, but I was just like, oh
no,
man.
That's the best. No, because I saw it in your face.
E.T.
I saw it in your face when I said it. It took you like 5 or 10 seconds, and then I saw you click. Oh, he means that scene in the movie, but I didn't know what you were thinking about. Thank you for.
my mind went a few places because first it was like, oh, maybe like there was like a stuffed ET, like maybe like the universe, whatever, right? Like the actual ET puppet that they use in the movie somehow got dumped by a river and like kids.
No, there's a scene in the movie.
Yeah, I know. I remember the movie. It's one of my favorite movies. But like my mind did not choose the path of logic. My mind it chose the path of illogic.
E.T. lives in a van down by the river. That's amazing. That's
smoking
amazing.
Cigarettes, drinking
like, the times are tough. Spielberg and him had a falling out because they couldn't get the sequel up and running. He's hanging out there with Roger Rabbit because Roger Rabbit couldn't get the sequel either. I mean,
Elliot, as an adult, one day drives by and he sees him and he like looks away, trying not to make eye contact because he's like, I don't even know how to like
help him
approach this situation. He's feeling too guilty to like. It's like fuck, man.
We should listen, man.
Can't help E.T.
Can we get a Kickstarter going right now for E.T. the sequel? We'll call up Henry Thomas, see if he'll come out and do it for us.
Man, I really know how to take the blockbuster out of a blockbuster.
Turn it into meditation on stardom.
Yeah.
Alex, man, it's a pleasure. First of all, you have the best first name ever. But other than that, sir, it's a pleasure talking to you, brother. I always love catching up with you. You're welcome back anytime. I look forward to seeing your new movie at the end of the year.
Thank you.
Please come back and tell us about how that. I'm sure you have insane stories about how that got
very
made.
different story.
And hanging out with two very big stars. I mean, these are monster stars right now. And Pete's a little well known now.
Yeah,
in the world.
He's in the news for something. I think he's living in a van down by the river. I'm not sure.
I think we should do a GoFundMe for Pete because I think he just left Saturday Night Live. He needs help. Poor guy.
By the way, one thing I'll just say really, really quickly that I'm proud of that maybe is worth sharing with your audiences. The budgets on Acidman and then the new one, Meet Cute, very different. And it went from like middle of nowhere, Oregon, crew of 15 people to shooting in Manhattan. Same DP, I brought over as much of the same crew as I possibly could. Anybody that was available that had held their own on the smaller film. There was no FU. I'm going to go hire the the bigger version of you. Like I'm gonna get whoever I can, whoever did Sandler's last movie, whatever. No, I wanted to work with the same people, and I would say that that's good advice. I should have said that. That stick with the people that that you've been succeeding with. Have their back. They've had yours for long enough.
Agreed.
So,
Agreed.
yeah.
100%.
I'm really proud of the team that I made both of those movies with. Yeah.
Alex, a pleasure as always, my friend. Continued success, and you're welcome back anytime, my friend. We'll talk soon.
Thanks for having me. Congrats to you.
Thank you,
Love
my
the
friend.
show.